sociocratic decision-making, and collective projects for the benefit of all engaged members. We share wisdom through book clubs, kitchen table talks, free and paid courses, and collaborative work. Our simple rules are respect all the spaces, be curious, ask questions, support women's agency, and be open to life's infinite possibilities. And welcome everybody this morning. I think most people know who I am. Lisa Tomey Zoneveld. I see Annette's popped in. Hi, Annette. So today we're going to be featuring is it Pisturino? Did I say it right?
Pisturino,
Pisturino?
very phonetic.
Dawn is a retired nurse in Arizona whose international publishing credits include poems, short stories, and articles. Her first poetry book, Aerial Song, published poems, 1987 to 2023. I have that book, debuted with 5-star reviews. Her short digital chapbook, Lunar Gazing Haiku, became a #1 Amazon new release in 4 categories. She is a member of Mystery Writers of America, PEN America, and the Arizona Authors Association. And I have her latest book here
Oh,
called Haiku for the Midnight Hour. So I have
I
this
appreciate that.
song. And I actually met Dawn through Instagram, I believe. There's a bunch of us that support one another
Hmm.
on Instagram, and I think it's maybe our connection with Joni and Michelle and
Hmm.
ones that are published, on different blogs and stuff. So welcome, and let's go around the room, introduce ourselves, and maybe tell us one thing you like about October. And I'll start with Melissa.
Well, I'm Melissa LeMay. I have kids. I'm always busy. I like to write a lot, so I'm busy with that. And one thing I like about October, I like all the colors of autumn. I'm going to steal that one before anyone else says it. We have some really, really good places in Pennsylvania to see a lot of the trees turning. So it's really, really magical, I think.
Nice. Yeah, and a beautiful part of the country.
Mhm.
Annette?
My favorite part of the year is when I can visit my family in Georgia. And I am in Georgia now. And my other favorite time at this time is the fact that I got my writing bug and my quilting bugs back and got rid of most of my pain. I don't know if I outgrew it or if I mastered the exercise and pain pill routine or what I did right, but I had hardly have any pain anymore. So
Wonderful,
I'm really
wonderful.
happy. Been a happy month.
Oh, not having pain really is more conducive to getting things done, isn't it? Oh, yeah. I've had to learn over the years about pain management, and thank goodness I'm getting there. Don, what's your favorite thing about October?
Well, obviously Halloween. I just have really good memories of Halloween when I was a child, and I've just kept that through the years, and I still like it. We don't obviously go trick-or-treating or anything like that, and we live in the country, so we don't get trick-or-treaters. We used to take our daughter into town and go trick-or-treating, and I used to like to make her costumes and all that stuff. I'm actually going to see her this month, and we're going to be doing some local Halloween stuff in Los Angeles,
Nice.
and it'll be fun.
Oh, sounds fun. Yeah, when I was a kid, trick-or-treating was the thing. And I only remember one year having actual costumes. We made up our own.
Hmm.
Usually I got one of my dad's old suit coats or big t-shirts or whatever, because my dad was a big man, so I ran up with a little kid. So I would just kind of go like that. And I didn't really like mask, didn't like anything made my face sweat.
Right.
So but I would carry a pillowcase because I was
Hmm.
determined to fill that thing up. And I tell you what, it got pretty full. So,
Yeah, I remember the pillowcases, and my brother was a couple of years younger than me, and we were really small, and he kept dragging his on the ground. So by the end of the night, he had lost all of his candy.
well, Donna, you have written, I guess, really two books around the theme of Halloween or the Hallow time. So you have
Um,
really taken hold of that. Tell us about your writing adventures.
well, I did a little PowerPoint, but my background in writing is, well, I've been writing since I was a child. And when I was a teenager, I was always an advanced reader. I read the classics, I read all the great English poets. I got really into Elizabeth Barrett Browning and sonnets. I fell in love with sonnets and her book, Sonnets of the Portuguese. I taught myself how to write sonnets. I took creative writing in high school and in college. I didn't really like the literature classes too much because I don't know, the teacher always had her preconceived ideas of what a book was about. And I used to see things that she didn't, but she always marked me down because I didn't agree with her. Um, Around 2000, well, I always liked Poe and Lovecraft and Stephen King. Really liked earlier Stephen King. And around 2011, I was taking classes in children's literature and writing for children. And there was a new website that came up and a e-zine for children. It was children's horror, and it was along the lines of R.L. Stein and Goosebumps and scary stories. You know, you tell in the dark, those books. And these adults were still really obsessed with that stuff. And so they created their own e-zine. So I started writing for them. And I really liked writing twisted limericks, dark limericks that were actually pretty funny. The thing with children, you know, you can't go too far with the dark stuff. Um, so it's more humorous and just fun stuff. And then with Haiku of the Midnight Hour, I thought, hmm, I had so much fun with the limericks. I'm going to try that with haiku. I'm going to write dark haiku. And I had so much fun writing that book because I got to explore different things like H.P. Lovecraft and ghosts and like voodoo and different stuff. And I had to do some research on the folklore and fairy tales and things. But I really enjoyed writing that book. And I know it's not everybody's cup of tea and it's non-traditional haiku, but I just wanted to do that because it was fun.
That's one of the big reasons we do what we do. It's fun and we can't not write. If you're a writer, you just can't not write. It just comes
Right.
natural to us. So you do have a PowerPoint, I believe you're going to share with us, and I have it set up so you're able to share.
Okay, so I hope I can do this right.
All right.
So can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, so I know you and Melissa and some of the other people who signed up, but I know a lot of people don't know me. And I'm new to Garden of Neuro too. So these are the books I published this year. The first one was Aerial Song in March. The second one was Lunar Gazing Haiku in June. The third one was Haiku for the Midnight Hour. I've tried to do one every quarter. And actually, I didn't intend to do all that, but I don't know, it was just so much fun that I continued. So I'm really honored to be here today. And I really thank you, Lisa, for inviting me. And so I've been published on Mysticadores and Spillwards Press and other places. Plus, I had three poems in your anthology, Cadence, which is a beautiful book.
Yeah. I love it.
And as you said, I'm a registered nurse. I'm retired, so I have lots of time to do this stuff. I still remember the first poem I wrote in third grade, which is called Spider, Spider. We lived in the country and They had really good science information in school. So I was really into the birds and spiders and insects and all that stuff. And that's always stayed with me my whole life, just the whole love of nature and being close to nature. And we live in the country now. And I just love it. I don't think I could ever live in the city again. And I lived in the San Francisco Bay Area for years. And I loved that, but it can't beat the country. So I ended up writing Ariel's song because I realized one day that 65 of my poems had been published, and that's since like 1987, so like 36 years. So I thought, wow, I see all these other people publishing poetry books. It's about time I did that. So I collected them all together and decided what order I was going to put them in and everything. And I had bought a program called Atticus, which is really easy to use. And so I use that to create my books. The book is dedicated to my daughter, Ariel, because some of the poems are written for her. And it's titled after my favorite poem in the book, which is Ariel's Song. And I wrote that when she was like 2 years old or something. So, whoops, got lost here. So it goes. Ariel sings a lusty song of ships upon the sea, and ere the night is very long, her spell is cast on me. She spins a web of intrigue, she tells a tale of woe, and when the sun is waxing big, I do not want to go. No, I do not want to go. But she folds her wings together and whispers my release, for her stories last forever, and her songs will never cease. Then she rises from the window, winging high into the light, and I'm left alone in shadow as she disappears from sight. Um, that's that's written after the Ariel in The Tempest, and it's also written for my daughter. I mean, we used to read a lot of books together, and I always tried to expose her to a lot of music and art and drama. We used to go to the San Francisco Opera House and see various things and watch a lot of stuff on TV. PBS always had really good programs that dealt with the arts.
Is she
So
also a writer?
she's actually a singer and she teaches voice, and she's the director of voice at the University of Laverne in Los Angeles.
Wonderful.
First, I always knew she was going to be into music, even when she was not born yet. I just always knew that. I always knew she would teach someday too. She didn't want to teach, but I just knew it would work out that way. And right now, she's singing with the San Diego Symphony.
Very nice. Love this poem.
Oh, thank you. So I think everybody has had trouble with their first book. So I did all this work creating a book, created the cover and all that stuff. And then I sent it to somebody I know who's an independent publisher. And she said, "No, I can't publish that because Amazon would reject it because all those poems have already been published and there would be copyright conflicts." And I own all the copyrights because it's typical, anyways, for independent publishers and small presses to do the um, non-exclusive rights. It just reverts back to you after they publish it. So I was disappointed, but undaunted. I went ahead and published it through Lulu because I was just exploring different things. Lulu did a beautiful job with it, but I really wanted to get it onto Amazon. And when I did the research, everybody said use Ingram Spark if you want to go wide distribution. So I went through Ingram Spark and they got my book onto Amazon and stores around the world like right away. No problems, no questions. Nobody said, "Oh, you can't do that," blah, blah, blah. Um, and then I guess that emboldened me because then for the next book, I thought, I'm going to have really a lot of fun with this next book. I had a bunch of haiku I had written because I was writing haiku as a writing discipline. And I put them all together in just a small book. I used Kindle Direct Publishing and published lunar gazing haiku. Several of my moon haiku had been published by Medusa's Kitchen. And I thought, you know what? I had done some research into the Japanese Harvard Moon Festival, and decided to use that as the theme of the book. And it's just very small. I started out as an ebook, and I was getting to know how to use Kindle Direct. And then I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and publish the paperback because I need to know how to use their paperback thing. So that went without any hitches. I was very happy with it. That was a lot of fun. It's actually been a pretty popular book, which makes me happy. And I did learn a lot from that.
Wonderful.
So here's just a few of the haiku from that. The first one is samurai. Samurai practice underneath large golden moon, bamboo flute playing. Fancy dress, gazing soulfully at the moon in fancy dress, deep meditation.
Nice.
Snow moon. The full moon rises with supernatural glow, reflecting on snow. Healing. Mooncakes and water capture moonlight, silver rays, powerful healing. So then on September 1st, I released my third book on Amazon through Kindle, direct publishing, Haiku for the Midnight Hour. I wanted it to be non-traditional, but still use the same pattern and use the darker themes, more Halloweeny stuff, ghosts, UFOs, monsters. Because I had learned when I was writing for Underneath the Juniper Tree how much people like that stuff, especially the younger people. So I thought, yeah, I'm going to do that. It's probably going to offend some people who are into traditional haiku, but I'm just going to do it just for the fun of it. And it's actually been well received. People that I thought would say, oh no, this is too non-traditional, have actually embraced it. So I'm glad that people are open-minded to breaking the rules once in a while.
Well, actually, your haiku, a lot of it takes the kind of a point of view of a Senryu, and that's where you have the freedom with haiku. You just explore the different types of approaches. And, so it's a win-win situation.
Well,
And
that's good because I don't know all the different kinds of haiku. So I'm glad to hear that.
yeah, so, and the most important thing, I think, in my opinion anyway, is it's not so much following the traditional. I'm not even a 575, you know, stickler to that, unless you're really determined to do that. Because that's in the Chinese language. That's not, in the Japanese language. That's not in the American language. If the words that they would use, the syllables they would use would be a lot different than what we would use. And
Mhm.
so it's not going to come out the same for the American or the English language, I should say. Not American, I should say the English language. But so there are going to be variations.
Mhm. Well, I did stick to 575, and it
Mhm.
takes a lot of thinking and creativity and a broad vocabulary
It sure
to be
does.
able to do that.
Yes, yes. You did beautifully with this too.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Mhm. One of the things I really noticed with this particular book is with the haiku for the midnight hour, is you really understand the economy of the words. And with haiku, you really put value on every single word you put in a haiku, and you
Mhm.
pulled it off beautifully, the way that
Well,
you
thank you.
stuff with that. So I just want to commend you for that, because that's one of the biggest challenges, I think, of writing haiku.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I do believe in brevity and conciseness
Mhm.
because, for one thing, people don't read as much as they used to. And so you don't want to use a lot of language that people don't understand, like old-fashioned words that people don't understand. And I've noticed that some people overwrite, like they don't know when to end the poem.
Yeah.
I've read somewhere oh, wow, you've gone too far. You've gone past the money. This is where you should have ended it. That's where the impact would have been made. So, I never say anything, but I do believe in brevity and conciseness and making your point and then getting out.
Yeah,
So,
the same way.
and then in December, I have another one coming. Sun Haiku, 365 Days of Sunshine. This one was a hard book to write because it's every haiku, and there's 369 of them. One for each day of the year, plus four for leap year. Every single one deals with the sun. And it was so hard to come up with that many haiku about the sun. So I was really researching the internet about anything I could find about the sun that I hadn't thought of. But I've written over 500 haiku now, and I think I'm pretty much done with haiku.
You haikued out. Well, I look forward to that coming out. Wow.
Well, thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Wow. How much time do you spend in an average day of writing?
I kind of took a little break from writing after finishing this because I was exhausted. And I've already submitted a bunch of poems that I'm waiting to be published. So I took a little break. I've been writing blog posts because it is Halloween month. So I post a lot more during October. And I spend a lot of time on my blog just responding to people and responding to notifications and emails. Um, when I'm really working on a project, though, I spend a lot of time, but sometimes it comes really easy. So I don't necessarily spend 12 hours a day on it or something. I might write a lot of stuff in an hour. Sometimes a poem will just come to me and I can just rattle it off and get it done. Other times it's a little harder. So it varies.
Does anybody have any questions or comments that they'd like to make?
Oh, Annette
What was
unmuted too. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You go first.
Okay. What was your first inclination that you wanted to be a writer?
Even as a kid, I wanted to be a writer and I used to read a lot. And things were different back then because you had all the big traditional publishing houses and you didn't have all the widespread books that you have now. So books were a little more special, you might say, because they weren't as widespread. And my mother really taught us to value books. Even if we went to the library to get books, she would make us put them up on a cupboard shelf so we couldn't touch them unless she let us. I mean, I'm talking about like Dr. Seuss, even. She just drummed it into our head that books were so special and so valuable that that's what I wanted to do. Of course, I became a nurse for practical reasons because there's not a lot of money in writing unless you're Stephen King or somebody. But and I pass it on to my daughter. Books are special, and they need to be valued and treasured and collected and kept and passed on. So,
I have another question. When you were young and you started reading on your own, did you ever read a book at first and know I want to write like that?
um, I don't think it was till I was a teenager that I thought like that. Like if I could write a sonnet like Elizabeth Barrett Browning or Shakespeare or somebody like that, yeah, that's cool. But when I was a kid, I was more interested in the content in the book. Used to read a lot of animal books. They used to have all those old Disney movies, Big Red and Old Yeller and things like that. I used to read those books. And I always liked the more scary stuff, the fun, scary stuff. Um, I don't like I don't like gory horror type stuff. And when Stephen King came out, I really loved reading all his stuff. Um, I always liked reading the classics like Thomas Hardy and people like that. I even read War and Peace, which I actually enjoyed. So, I always had broad taste when it came to reading books.
I'm the same way. I like a variety. Our bookshelf when we were kids, the few that we had on the shelf, we mostly went to the library. We were like so many other kids that were raised by Depression era parents. Every penny was pinched, and so we just had a very limited library. But my very first exposure to poetry was to Poe, because it was on our home library shelf. And so I wasn't even in school yet, and I was reading Poe. So probably explains a lot about me. But anyway, the dark side started at an early age in Grimm's fairy tales, the real Grimm's fairy tales,
Yes,
not the flowery version.
right.
And acting those out as a kid and making little home plays with either of my siblings or with my dolls. So yeah. Melissa, you had a question?
Well, I wanted to go back to when you were talking about R.L. Stein and Goosebumps and that, because I thought to myself, oh, I loved those. Were you saying that you were writing for children? Remind me what you said.
Yes, I was writing for children.
Okay.
Um, I had been published earlier, and then I was still trying to get published because I took a long break from writing because I was a nurse and I was working. And then I wanted to get back into writing, and I had toyed with the idea of becoming a children's writer. There's a lot of rules in writing for children. It's very restrictive. So I eventually abandoned that because, I want to be able to write what I want to write. But 2011, there was a group of people who came up with Underneath the Juniper Tree, which was a digital e-zine. They had a website and a digital e-zine for children. It was children's horror. And they were all young people who had grown up with R.L. Stein and those kind of books. So they hadn't outgrown that yet, which I don't know if you ever do, but they were duplicating that in their own version. They had wonderful artists who donated their services and created some really beautiful artwork. A lot of newer writers and more seasoned writers. It was a good opportunity to break in with them and to get published, which I did. And it was a lot of fun. I didn't know anything about children's horror. I didn't want to write children's horror, but I just had a kind of a prejudice against that. But when I saw what they were doing and I was able to adapt and learn how to write that, it was actually a lot of fun. And truthfully, I think it was more teenagers that were reading it than younger children. But I used to get a lot of feedback from young people how much they liked it, and that was encouraging, and I enjoyed that. The problem with them is that there was a lot of infighting, and the editor was trying to take it into a direction that other people didn't necessarily want to go, and she was also exploiting people. She did not pay the writers or the illustrators; it was all donated. And the she would put a lot of pressure, especially on the illustrators, to get things done. And I know there was a lot of pushback, and the thing just eventually folded, just from all the conflicts. I really regretted that because I enjoyed it very much, and I enjoyed reading other people's stuff, and I really enjoyed the artwork. It was really fantastic, and most of those people are still doing illustrations.
Okay,
Uh,
yeah, that was my other thought. I wondered if you were ever going to be interested or take some of these like haiku for children or other forms and write again for like children's books or anything like that. I don't know. I just had that thought. But I guess
I actually go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, but I guess your answer was no, maybe.
Well, I did write a children's mystery book. Actually did that for a class. I was taking classes through the Institute of Children's Literature and wrote a whole novel. And then I did a lot of editing, a lot of editing. This was like 10 years ago. And truthfully, I got really sick of that book. And I did get some agents to look at it, and they felt like I hadn't edited it enough. So the problem is, once they turn you down, you can't go back for a couple of years. So I thought, okay, I was going to set this aside for a while. And then I started editing it again. But as I said, I was so sick of that book. I said, I can't deal with this. So I just set it aside and just forgot about it for a long time. But I'm going to pull that out and edit it again. And some of the stuff that you could write about back then, you can't really write about now. If it doesn't fit in with the political correctness thing. So I'm going to go back and change some of that. And then I may just self-publish it or try to go through somebody I know. But I thought, well, I already wrote it. I may as well resurrect it
Yeah,
and not just throw it away.
Yeah.
exactly.
And actually, Haiku for the Midnight Hour was actually written for adults. I thought a lot about whether it was appropriate for younger people. But then I thought, well, teenagers would probably enjoy it. So I lowered the age on it from 16 plus, and
Yeah.
seems okay.
Yeah, I
Haven't heard
think a
that.
lot of
Right.
teens that are into poetry and that are 16 plus is a good age to put it at.
Yeah, and I've heard kids say they like the darker stuff. They don't necessarily like all the flowery stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's more of a cultural thing just because they're exposed to so much of that stuff.
Yeah, and the teen life, there's so much stuff going on anyway in the teen years. You almost need a release to get some of that stuff out, to just dealing with life. So I
That's
like your
true.
press of your press emblem, the Horse Mesa Press. That's really cool. I thought that was a publishing company that you published through, but that's actually your publishing imprint. So well done. Oh,
Thank you. I just wanted to look a little more professional.
yeah.
So, so I, it's actually the name of a road behind us, and I always
Uh-huh.
like the name of that road.
Yeah.
And I like horses, like I know Melissa does. So I registered the name with the state of Arizona so nobody else could use it. It's not a company, it's just me. So
Mhm. Good
it's just
deal.
fun stuff.
Do you design your covers?
Yeah.
Well, they really are nice.
I'm not an artist per se, so I find artwork in the public domain.
Uh-huh.
So
Wow. Well, you did a great job.
thank you.
Wow. Don, I'm impressed. Gee, maybe you should give us all a challenge of writing a haiku book around Halloween. Maybe that's an anthology idea for the garden.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Or was right now we're kind of like in between, so that would be kind of an interesting idea, an interesting concept. So, well, I
Oh,
would thank you. Did anybody else have any questions or do you have any more comments? I'm sorry, I didn't need to jump in.
No, I still haven't gotten your book, but that's on my to-do list. So I love the ones that you shared, the poems that you shared, and everything that I've read from you. I really, enjoy, and it's amazing that, yeah, because I wish I could, not that I wish I could. I could, but I don't have the faith in myself to self-publish. So it's really inspiring, that you do that. Just, it's inspiring that that you got turned down, but you forged ahead, and you got it done. And like Lisa said, your covers are, um, they look really good. Like, because I know some people when they make their own covers, they don't, you can tell it's like, oh, someone made this, but um, no, I really admire you, Dawn.
Oh, well, thank you. I've seen a lot of professional book covers that I don't like. They just
Mhm.
seem dull.
Yeah.
So I know what I'm trying to convey with my cover. They don't. So
Mhm.
that's why I started doing that. And I actually forgot to read the haiku from Haiku for the Midnight Hour. So the first one is aliens. Little green men in silver suits appear often, but no one believes. UFOs, triangles, light up the sky in tight formation, parade in the night. Midnight funeral. Midnight funeral. Black umbrellas in the rain tell a gruesome tale. Tombstones. Full moon at midnight stares boldly at old tombstones, dead come back to life. So there's that.
Wow. Well, this has been really great. Um, so what's the name of your website where people can find your book? I was on there just a little bit ago. How do we find your books?
I'm sorry, I missed what you said.
I noticed you have a website. What is your website?
My website is dawnpisturino.org. All my books are on Amazon. And I also have a blog, dawnpisturino.wordpress.com.
Okay, wonderful. I
And
think I
Melissa,
follow you.
yeah, I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, some other sites like Medium. I don't use Medium a lot, but I use some more than others. And I've been trying to actually cut back on social media because it's too
Yeah,
time consuming.
yeah. I recently dropped my X account because it wasn't what it used to be. It used to be a big poetry community on there, but it's not happening now. So
Yeah, I noticed that I'm on X, but and I do follow some writers and they follow me, but it doesn't seem like it's that much.
not much happening. Used to be
And
very strong.
yeah. And Melissa, I hope you do publish a book because some of your poetry is just blows me away.
Yeah, you need to do that.
Thank you so much. Well,
Is that
yeah,
a kitty?
yes, this is Prometheus.
Hey, Prometheus. Meow.
Yes.
He's
Yeah,
pretty.
I've been in Lisa's ear a little bit about asking some questions about publishing and so and I love, for any of you, I really 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 love collaborative poetry. So if you ever want to write together, maybe I'll remind you. I just it's so much fun and I think like, with that sense of community that like you said, it's not on some of the platforms. I don't know. It really is like Nolcha and Barbara and I have been writing the Renge, and
Hmm.
so we're like talking around that, and you kind of build friendships with people through the process of writing, and it's nice. So I really enjoy that.
Well, that's an
Well,
idea of something that we could do in the garden is do some workshops on that.
Hmm. That'll be fun.
yeah, Barbara and Nolcha, their collaboration is just so
It's,
fantastic. It's so funny.
yeah.
Their poems are so funny. I
I'm
mean,
publishing one for Nolcha and Ken next year, and
mhm.
looking forward to putting that out. So
And your collaborations too, Melissa, your Rengays that you do with David and Leslie
Hmm.
and other people are really great. And well, your collaboration with Nigel. I still have to read part 13.
Yeah, it's been really eye-opening. Eye-opening, definitely. I should tell him to well, is the Black Voices anthology, is that poetry, Lisa?
Yeah, it's the
Okay.
Black Voices is to recognize Black poetry in
Okay.
October. And I'm still taking submissions, even though the date is closed. I still take
Okay.
submissions because we haven't gotten that many, and certainly welcome more.
Okay. Well, I'll let him know. We've been writing a story really, and I've been giving haiku, and then he writes the story, and it's about slavery in Trinidad. And wow, I've researched, like, you said you research stuff for your books, and it's just eye-opening. Like,
Mhm.
I had no idea some of the how people were treated. It's incredible.
Yeah, you guys have done a great job with that story.
Thank you.
And your haikus are fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, ladies, I think we'll probably go ahead and close out. Thank you,
Thank
Don. This has been
thank
wonderful. It's
you.
good to get to know you. I see on social media, I buy your book, but like I've met a famous author, so yay.
And
So
I can't believe how many books you turn out with Prolific Pulse Press. It's like
last count was 31. And because I recently did a day by day little post using, I didn't know it was going to end up being 31 books that I would be
just
from.
this year.
No, since I started, this has been going on 4 years. But that doesn't count the ones that I helped publish beforehand.
Mm,
Those are the ones through Prolific Pulse. I have other books I've done for other people through,
mhm.
going through a less formal process. So, and I'm training somebody right now to run their own press. So tutoring.
That's great.
Yeah. Gotta keep people writing.
That's true.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much, Lisa, and thank you
Thank
all of
you.
you for showing up. I really appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Thank you all. You have a
Yeah.
wonderful rest of your day.
You
Have a
too.
nice day
Thank
and
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.